Alright, Sim Gamers, welcome to some bonus content for Kerbal Space Program 2. We're going to figure out how to build a rover that doesn't totally suck. I'm just going to take a look at all different parts that I have available. I mean, I guess we could just, like, I don't know. Having a cockpit come down and also be able to rove around on a rover just sounds like it would be handy. So what if we did something like that? They'd sort of be laying on their back, I guess. That wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, sure, why not? I think I want them driving that way. To the trip planner, we're going to Minmus. Down to the surface. Basically, from low orbit to surface is 180 delta V. From surface back to, I want to say it's not an orbit. It would actually be just a ballistic trajectory. Would also be 180 delta V. So there's 400 delta V. 550 delta V should get us from low orbit to back. And then we could just continue to build in enough fuel in this thing where it's able to interesting. This thing's in a sort of an interesting form factor. It's bigger than small, but smaller than medium. We could use a jet cockpit. A small fuel tank. Now, if I throw like a Terrier on here, what kind of delta V are we talking about in this ship? Wow, that's plenty. So this would be able to descend, land, and do all the mission requirements on and around Minmus. Do I even need that much fuel? What if I grab less fuel? You know what? I think I'm going to try this. 1350. So here's our mission stage that we're bringing to Minmus and back. I do want to do something a little funny, which is mount a couple of very tiny rockets on the center of mass just for other maneuvers like helping us land. So if I use the symmetry mode, this symmetry mode, which is the airplane symmetry mode, allows me to place rockets on either side that point straight down. Now, let's see here. Get rid of this. Take a look at the pod. It has not telling me how much monopropellant it has. Does it have any? I don't think it does. That's not in here. Okay, so these pods don't. This pod doesn't have any monopropellant. I could also mount just a couple of extra small engines facing this way like so. That might not be bad. And do like that. I'm going to want to set up some command. Do we have the ability to set up command buttons? We'll have to explore that. We have either those wheels or these wheels. I think we go with extra small here. 1, 2 on the back. 1, 2 on the front. Change their angle. This rocket's going to be off center the whole time, meaning it's going to be a bit of a pain to fly. Oh, hang on. Why is the center of thrust showing up as off center? I guess it's taking into consideration the additional mass that we're adding on. All right, well, we'll continue tuning that when we get to that point. Since we haven't... Oh, never mind. We have this nose section that we're not using. I guess we'll just stick an aerodynamic thing on here. And that does mean I need to move these two items to here. Oh, I know why it's saying its center of thrust is weird. It's because these engines are there. Now, since we're going to Minmus, lifting off from Minmus and all sorts of stuff, we could actually attach a very small engine. It's not quite as efficient as the Terrier, but we can take a look. This stage gives us 1,258 delta V for this little guy. If we use this, we actually end up with less delta V, and the reason for that is because although this engine is more efficient, it's more weight, which increases our weight to fuel ratio. Mass to fuel ratio. I'm going to save this. Mimnas Rover. And we can actually change the information here. Let us know what this thing looks like. Yeah, this thrust weight ratio of these little guys is crazy. 24.6 to 1, 13.6 to 1. So we can actually thrust limit these quite a lot. if I flip these stages around, just now showing 1.36. So there's a little bit of fiddliness we have to do here to actually get this right, because the stage is only showing its thrust rate ratio when it's the first one. It's like this upper stage is assuming that this stage is going to still be present. And that's not the case. We're actually going to be swapping back and forth. Now, there's no particular reason not to have that much thrust around Minmus. I guess the only thing to do really is just to test this thing. Oh, let's get into the advanced properties. Auto suspension's fine. Auto traction control, auto adjust steering. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have steering not enabled on the back. And initially, torque will not be enabled on here. And we're just going to give it a test drive around the Kerbal Space Center. So it can drive around under its own power using electrical current, which is exactly what we want for the surface of Minmus. The brakes. And we're out of electrical power. So back to the VAB to solve that. This little guy may be spending a significant amount of time in the darkness between light and shadow. But while it's driving around, we got plenty of solar power. So, like, do I just put these massive solar panels on here? I kind of like that. Kind of like that design. In order to minimize the amount of mass differential when this fuel tank runs dry, we're going to grab a big old battery and just put it back here with this engine. And now you can carry 200 units of energy plus what's in the pod. And once again, we need our center of mass to replace these rocket motors near the center of mass. And what we can do is we can actually check how much of our center of mass shifts. Does the center of mass no longer shift when fuel tank's empty? I find that curious. I'm calling this Bullet Bob. In honor of Bob Kerman. Bob's Bullet Rover. Okay, now we need to do, like I said, is figure out how to get this thing into space around Minmus. Oh, shoot! this is going to have to be an Apollo-style mission, which gives us some interesting capabilities. All right, well, knowing that, now I know that we need a docking port, because this is going to be a lander and a rover. The next assembly to be built in this Minmus mission is let's see here. In order to have those guys re-enter, I need to be able to carry 2 crew. So, up in coupling, we're going to put a docker on here. And what this allows us to do realistically is just attach it to the end, like so. This is essentially the vehicle that's launching. Can I focus on this vehicle, please? Anyway, all right. So in order for this to re-enter successfully, it needs its thermal protection. This is quite a lot larger. It will need some parachutes. And for this one, we'll have to go radial. That ought to work. I'm going to move them up a little bit so they're not interfering with those control thrusters. Both of these will need communications. I'm just going to do it nice and easy. And put a communications module over on this side. That's not the radio, not the ladder side. Now, science. We're going to want to bring some science down with us, right? So we'll go ahead and attach one of each of these along with our mission. And just bring it down so it's not quite so sticking up in the solar panel so much. Kind of just want to rotate that one around for aesthetic reasons. Okay, let's check this thing's center of mass. Double check that my rocket engine is pretty much where it should be. It is. All right. We still need communications on this module, otherwise it's not going to be able to communicate with anyone as well. So we'll stick a radio antenna right there. And now we're going to have the workhorse stage of this rocket. And we have the option of using the Poodle, which is a very, very efficient engine in space. However, I'm missing an important piece. We don't want to bring this whole engine down with us. We are going to need some staging help getting this sorted. In true Apollo fashion, though, the way we make this work is with a payload. Small cargo bay isn't going to be enough. Neither is that shell, for that matter. Well, maybe we just fly in this configuration. That's fine. We fly like this, all coupled together. The thing that's really going to help this rocket work, though, is if we bring a little bit of RCS along with us, which is just a monopropellant. Shouldn't need all that much. Like a couple of these tucked into the engine area should be plenty. And then we just make sure under controls, or is it under engines? Not under engines. Utility, okay. That we put down some RCS around the rocket like so. This will allow us to have plenty of maneuverability and stuff to do our docking maneuvers. Basically, we get this thing into a circular orbit near this, and we have the command pod take over to dock. This won't need RCS, or it shouldn't need RCS. All right, now we got to get staging really under control here. Decoupling and parachute is that stage. Or remember, we can have some more control if we have our parachutes separately. This engine, then this engine triggers, then these engines can trigger. Again, I do want to figure out, can I do... Where do I go? Action Group Plant Manager, perfect. Okay, custom number 1. Oh, we have a lot of... Okay, custom group number 1 is control from here and enable torque. This is basically... This is going to be rocket engine mode. Enable engine. So that's custom number 1. And I'm actually going to want to test that on the pad. Custom number 2. Once again, this Peregrine pod, we are going to disable torque. Also control from here, just to make sure. And then the little spark engine, we disable this, and both of the ants we enable. And I don't think I... Enable. Enable. Spark disabled. Ants enabled. Torque turned off. Or no, actually this is... We do want to have torque on here. Because this is landing. Okay, stage 1 is orbital. Stage 2 is setting down. Let's go ahead and edit custom 1 to make sure that we have the right engine modes, because we're entering orbital engine. Both of these ants we're going to disable. Okay, so spark on, ants off, control from here, enable from enable torque. Yep. Okay, now that's custom 2. Custom 3 is driving mode. So the Peregrine, we're going to disable torque. All of the engines get disabled, including the spark. No torque. Engines disabled. Oops. That's absolutely not what I wanted to do. Did that get rid of my custom controls as well? It did. What a pain in the ass. Okay, good. Custom 2, custom 3. All those enabled and disabled, torque disabled. Ground. Enable motors. So that enables motors for all those. I think I want to go to custom 2 and actually disable the motors otherwise. And custom 1 as well. This is a crazy build. Let's go ahead and grab this whole thing and set it as our launch vehicle and try it out. So we should have right now, we have some steering. The motors begin enabled. Mode 1. Oh, that's right. Mode 1. Mode 2. Brilliant. Mode 3. Is driving around mode. Hell yeah. Now, obviously, there's not enough thrust to lift us off from this pad. But and the other weakness is I'm not seeing this fuel tank here. That seems to be more or less what we want. This is not a re-entry vehicle. So we need to make sure, as far as our crew... all right, we're bringing the big three here. Bob, Valentina, and Jeb. Want to make sure the Peregrine is empty to start with. Okay. All this staging is just going to get messed up anyway when we really actually fly the mission. But according to this stage currently has 1,841 Delta V, which, according to our trip planner, is enough to go from low or Minmus intercept and back, carrying this weight. Plenty, more than enough. From low orbit to intercept to low orbit. Absolutely plenty for that mission. Okay, well, now all we need to do is figure out how to get this thing into orbit. Which takes around, like, the amount of Delta V this thing has, it can finish up a little bit of orbit task at the end. Let's grab a medium sustainer rocket of some kind, like the old Skipper. Double checking my thrust to weights. That looks good. Tighten up some staging here. Now, that's 612. Now we plop on something like a mainsail, giving us 2-to-1 thrust-to-weight ratio. And between these two stages, we have just shy of 3,000 Delta V. So I could add another fuel tank. Making this rocket quite tall, a total of 3,900 Delta V. Or we do some fancy asparagus staging, which is always one of my favorite things to do if I have the opportunity. Fuel tanks. A nice long small tank. Mainsail. Does the mainsail have gimbal? Methane. It does have an engine gimbal. Okay. So that means I can use Reliance as my heavy lifters. Oh, really? The mainsail's a sustainer. Interesting. These tanks are going to need more fuel to start off with. $3,500. Run a fuel line here, just curious to see what how this changes the dynamic. So we got slightly less delta V out of this. Oh, hang on. $279. So call it 250. 1400. 1650. 2650. It's only 3250 delta V. Although we're going to be so close to space that this should be able to take care of the rest of that. What if I added just a little bit more juice in the skipper stage? Actually, since the mainsail gives us enough thrust, there's no reason to pack a whole other engine, really. 288. $288 plus 2809 is not even 3000 delta V. Okay, well, that was obviously all the wrong stuff to do for this build. Just add a little bit more for this skipper to do. I got rid of my stack coupler. Or how about this? How about we just let's couple up some solid rocket boosters. Some biggins. Like so. Aerodynamic to cap those off. What does that do for us? That's not even enough to lift off the ground with. 2.3 thrust to weight ratio. If that's the case, then it seems like there should be some efficiency to be gained by just doing that. In fact, we can now go to the skipper. What's this thing? 307 vacuum ISP? Yeah. Go to a skipper. What do we got here? All this goes together. Yeah, there's 3800 delta V at least. Okay. So this is there's a trick in sort of balancing rocket design as far as having additional stages versus not having additional stages. This booster really helps us along the way. The skipper is a plenty capable engine. Our initial thrust weight ratio is going to be just shy of 1.6. Then we're less than a G of acceleration here, but by this time we're going to be out of low atmosphere, so I can call this vacuum. Oh, in fact, I need to tune this. This is atmospheric delta V. So 3800 delta V right here between these two stages. Kerbal vacuum delta V. This is going to be a separation for landing. And everything else is going to be manually controlled. Now, this up here is an aerodynamic mess. So, How do I want to do that? Where do I want to base my shroud? I guess I want to base it here. This shroud might not be able to be wide enough. Can I do that? Oh, seems like it doesn't hate it. Needs to be wider though. And close it off. All right, Shroud, what are you whining about? That does not appear to be an acceptable workable shroud. Bummer. Which means we're going to want to put a stack separator here. And build a shroud for that. I'm not sure if this is right. I'm not sure if the stack separator part is right. Coupling. Stack decoupler there. Shroud here. Stack decoupler here. Like so. All right, here we go. This should be good. Nope. It could have been that the width of this just wasn't wide enough. Oh yeah, of course. We have wheels sticking out all over the place in strange locations. So, okay. Let's see if we can't get that other one to work again. You can say dock like that. Payloads. Shroud. Just gonna pull it out as far as it'll go. Not sure if this is going to be big enough. Should be good enough, hopefully. Okay. Bring those down so they don't interfere. And our staging is all sorts of backwards and upside down. Okay, those two rockets go. Then we get rid of the boosters. And then somewhere around here, we get rid of the shroud. All right, parts manager. Clamshell type 3. I just hope that adds enough aerodynamic stability. Four biosymmetry for that. Get ourselves our launch truss. And just bring this whole thing down to earth. Okay. Double check our numbers here. 1.38 thrust to weight ratio. It's not all that great. I'm gonna increase this to a mainsail. Which might mean I need to put an additional bit of fuel on here to get the delta V I want, but we got a 2-to-1 thrust to weight ratio. See, yeah, that's only 2,900 delta V now because of the extra weight of the mainsail. That is easily solved with a bit more medium fuel. Like so. .78 to 1 is good. 2.48 to 1 is fine for orbital maneuvers. 3,300 delta V. Which just tells me we need more fuel. I suppose the other thing I could have done is added more boosters. 3,700 delta V. There we go. 1.58 to 1 liftoff. 1.95 main stage. Bob's Bullet Rover is about as ready for launch as anything is going to be.